Hi everybody, Mr. G here. Third science lesson for the environments unit. We're going to talk today about ecosystems and biomes. On my screen, I have a real-world science video that we're going to watch together. But in the meantime, found these flashlights. Kind of makes me look sketty, doesn't it? I'll stop that. I don't want anybody crying at home. So anyway, let's talk more about ecosystems and biomes. What is in an ecosystem, and what in the world is a biome? Or is it pronounced biome? Or is it biome? I think it's biome, but let's go with that. So, without further ado, here's somebody to tell you. Hopefully. There we go.
Hi, I'm Kirsten. Welcome to Real World Science. Everything on Earth is part of an ecosystem, and you're a very important part of your ecosystem. Stay tuned to learn more about the exciting worlds that exist all around us. What is an ecosystem? So exactly what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a system formed by the interaction of a community of organisms with their physical environment. Let me see if I can make this a little clearer. Take this pond, for example. Everything you see here, the water, the ground, the plants and animals living in and near the water, is an ecosystem. The living things and their non-living environment are working together and helping to maintain each other. When you have a relationship where things work together and depend on each other to exist, it's called symbiosis.
Symbiosis?
So a pond is an ecosystem. But what about if we took a drop of pond water and put it in a dish?
Ew.
Well, this is an ecosystem too, only much smaller. There's still an environment, the water, and living organisms inside too, each working together to help maintain the other.
But they're small organisms.
So if an ecosystem can be as small as a drop of water, we can't possibly cover all the ecosystems in the world during this program. But we can cover some of the major ecosystems on Earth, each with unique environments and living organisms. These areas are called biomes. By definition, a biome is a major regional or global living community characterized by the dominant organisms and the climate.
That was easy.
I had no idea.
The Arctic Tundra.
Oh, like Minnesota or Wisconsin.
In this program, we are going to cover 7 major biomes found on Earth. Let's begin with a biome we call the Arctic Tundra. When you hear the word Arctic, you probably think of something cold. Well, you're right on track. The Arctic Tundra is definitely cold, with temperatures reaching almost negative 51 degrees Celsius during the winter. Even in the warmest months, the temperature rarely goes above 10 degrees Celsius.
Probably colder than Minnesota.
Because the temperatures are so cold, the subsoil of the Arctic tundra remains frozen all the time. This permanently frozen ground is called permafrost.
It's a beautiful critter.
The Arctic tundra has a mostly dry climate and sees between 30 to 50 centimeters of rainfall annually.
That's like 13 or 14 inches.
During summer, it gets just warm enough for a thin layer of topsoil to thaw and pools of water to form, attracting insects.
Yummy.
And some of those insects become a feast for hungry migrant birds that venture into the area during that time of year.
Caw, caw.
Throughout the rest of the year, however, the climate is extremely dry and cold.
Moo.
So the plants and animals that live there have special characteristics that help them survive in the environment.
Cool ears, short tail.
For instance, many of the animals that live in the tundra have very thick fur, like polar bears. And you won't see trees in this area. They just can't adapt to the harsh conditions.
That's too bad.
So small shrubs and lichens are the dominant plants here.
We have
The
lichens
Arctic
in
tundra
Minnesota.
is the Earth's coldest biome and can be found mostly in the northern parts of the world, near the Arctic Ocean, and include lands in Europe, Asia, and North America.
That's pretty good information, but that's not where Minnesota is.
Forest biomes. Just south of the Arctic tundra, you can find a very different biome called the Coniferous Forest.
Coniferous.
The Coniferous Forest biome stretches across Alaska, the top of North America, and Eurasia.
Still not Minnesota.
What characteristics comprise this biome?
Well, if it's a conifer,
Well, for one thing, you'll find plenty of trees here.
lots of pine
The
trees.
coniferous forest consists of cone-bearing trees with needles like spruce, hemlock, and firs.
That's exciting.
These trees don't have leaves that fall off and
Ooh.
decay, so the soil in the coniferous forest is not very fertile.
No.
But the coniferous trees grow well here and are suited to the cold climate of this area,
Poor
which
trees.
has temperatures ranging from negative 55 degrees Celsius in the winter and up to 20 degrees Celsius in the summer. And this area averages between 30 to 85 centimeters of rainfall
Wow.
annually.
That's like 3 feet of rain.
Some animals
2 to
that
3
can
feet.
be found in this biome
Oh,
are the
puppies.
moose,
Oh, moose.
rabbit,
Oh, squirrel. I mean,
and
rabbit.
owl.
Oh, bluebird. I mean, owl.
There's another biome that has lots of trees too. It's called the deciduous forest.
Deciduous. That's a
The
big word.
deciduous forest regions exist in many places, including eastern North America, Europe, and eastern Asia.
Interesting.
What makes this forest so different? Well, it has
Trees?
mostly deciduous trees, trees that lose their leaves during the autumn season. The decaying leaves make the soil very fertile, and as a result, this biome can support all different kinds of plants and
That
animals.
looks like Minnesota.
The climate here changes, and the forest experiences all 4 seasons: summer,
Spring,
autumn,
fall, winter,
winter,
next
spring.
winter, second fall. Oh,
The
sorry.
deciduous forest has an average temperature of 10 degrees Celsius,
That's like 45 degrees.
and rainfalls at an average of 75 to 150 centimeters
that's
annually.
A lot of rain.
So you can find a wide
Oh,
range
puppies.
of animals that live in this biome: deer,
Cats.
squirrels,
Oh, precious.
rabbits, chipmunks,
I'm going to have to learn my animals.
and even people.
People? Animals? Oh my
Because the
goodness.
soil is so fertile, many people have rid areas of the deciduous forest to create homes and farms there.
I like horses. Let's see what's next.
Desert biomes.
Yay, desert. Dessert or desert?
Let's move on to a biome where it's difficult for life to survive: the desert.
The classroom. I mean, the desert.
Scientists estimate that about 1/5 of land is a
Oh,
desert.
that's not us.
And different types of deserts can be found on virtually every continent
Oh, boy.
except Europe.
Desert sounds
This
warm.
biome can support very little life because of the lack of water.
That's beautiful.
Average rainfall in the desert is less than 25 centimeters per year.
It's like less than a foot of rain.
Temperatures range from about 35 degrees Celsius during the day to 10 degrees Celsius at night.
It's over 100 degrees during the day and 45 at night.
When you think of the desert, you might think of a very hot, dry place.
Star Wars.
But there are actually different types of deserts with different climates. One kind is hot and dry. An example of a hot, dry desert is also the world's largest desert, the Sahara in northern Africa.
Beautiful.
It stretches across almost 9.1 million square kilometers.
A lot.
Another kind of desert is cold and dry, like the Gobi Desert in northern China. This desert stretches across almost 1.2 million square kilometers. Each type of desert has its own plants and animals. all of which have adapted to low moisture conditions.
I wonder if they have puppies and kittens.
In the cold, dry desert, plant life is scarce, and so are the animals. In the hot desert, you can find many different cactus species
Cactus.
and some other types of plants.
I want to hug them.
Few animals are equipped to survive here, but there are a variety of reptiles, including snakes and lizards.
Friendly.
And let's not forget the camel. It can survive in these dry conditions by storing water-producing fat in its hump.
Pretty.
Ready to move on to another region?
I'm not
Here
sure.
we go.
Oh boy.
Grassland biomes.
Hey, that could be us.
This biome is called the Grasslands, and it's full of, you guessed it, grass.
Duh.
Grasslands can be found on virtually every continent. It's estimated that almost 1/4 of land is grasslands.
I don't think that map was accurate.
And there are different kinds of grasslands, each of which see an average of 25 to 75 centimeters of rainfall annually.
Like 10 to 30 inches.
Temperatures in the savanna, which is a hot tropical grassland found in Africa, vary little and average about 20 degrees Celsius.
Nice kitty.
There, you'll find mostly dry, grassy fields and animals like giraffes and zebras.
Cool.
There are temperate grasslands too, like the ones found in North America,
The Great
which have a
Plains.
varying climate with temperatures ranging from 38 degrees Celsius in the summer
Over 100.
to 0 degrees Celsius in the winter.
It's like 32 degrees.
These grasslands are often called prairies and are home to animals like buffaloes and prairie dogs.
I love prairie dogs.
In many places in North America and Africa, grasslands have been turned into farms, making it less likely for large wild animals like bison to live there. The nutrient-rich soil is great for raising crops and feeding animals. So much of the grasslands are used for food that the area in the United States is often called the breadbasket of America.
It sure is.
The aquatic biome.
I wonder what that means.
Moving on from the rolling hills of the grasslands, we come to a biome that covers approximately 75% of the Earth's surface.
That's like
The
75%.
aquatic biome. This biome can be separated into two basic regions, marine and freshwater. Marine regions include bodies of salt water, such as oceans, and some lakes. Marine regions support all kinds of animals, including sharks, fish, and seahorses,
Cool.
as well as crustaceans and mammals like dolphins. Seaweed makes up a large portion of the marine plant life. Now, freshwater regions are made up of fresh water, not salt water, and includes ponds, lakes, streams, rivers, and wetlands. The various freshwater regions are home to many different types of animals, like fish, beavers, and ducks. And different kinds of plants can be found in the different freshwater regions. Temperatures can vary widely among the aquatic biome regions depending on location. But generally, these areas tend to be more humid and have a cooler air temperature than terrestrial biomes.
It's good information.
Rainforest biomes. That brings us to the last.
Here. Oh, what happened to her face? Anyway, we're going to leave that right here because have you ever thought of Minnesota as maybe having more than one biome? If you think about Minnesota, we have lakes, so we have a freshwater aquatic biome. We also have a lot of trees, so we have that deciduous biome. And then if you drive just half hour to even an hour west of Anoka, you'll come to areas that it's like they're transitioning from trees to just flat open lands where they farm a lot. And we had a biome for that one as well. Prairie. I think that's what it was called, prairie, right? So Minnesota seems to be a transition area, an area where we have an environment made up of separate biomes, probably 3 at the minimum, maybe max. I'm not sure. I don't think that we're looking at a desert in Minnesota. I don't think it's Arctic, even though there are days where it's awfully cold. We don't have that marine aquatic biome. And then, of course, they were about to enter into that last one. And we'll probably have 3. So with that said, think about when you are going to go on this environmental journey with me. When I start, I think in lesson 5, I'm going to start creating mini biomes. And one of the biomes I'm going to create, you're going to have a say in it. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it goes, because that biome, or all the biomes that I'm going to create right in front of you on video, just 2 lessons from now, we're going to eventually put critters inside there to live. So I'm also going to need some input from you, the whole 5th grade, about different types of critters you'd like to see that are in our biome. And then I'm going to show you how those critters are growing, how they're moving around, how they're adapting, how they are accepting their space that they live in. And I'm not going to try to do it in a scary way. Oh my goodness, I just saw myself. I'm not going to do it in a scary way. I'm going to try to do it in a way that you can ask questions, put some ideas in the comments or chats, and try to try things, or attempt to try things that come from you. Okay? So that's all I have to say about that. We talked about environment, the word environment, and we talked about biomes. Let's watch a little bit more of this, and then we will wrap this up.
Last major biome we're going to discuss, and it's one of the most interesting. It's called the rainforest, and it is home to almost half of all the world's plant and animal species. There are 2 basic types of rainforests, tropical and temperate. Tropical rainforests can be found in Asia, Africa, South America, Central America, and many islands, many near the equator. Now, the largest temperate rainforests can be found on the Pacific coast. Tropical rainforests can get up to 400 centimeters of rain annually.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, they are pretty wet. In fact, they experience almost constant rainfall. And the average temperature ranges from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius with little change. There are countless species of trees and vegetation.
Where'd my video go? Where did my video go? I accidentally scrolled funny on that. I was going to ask you a question of how in the world do those coastal areas receive over 100 inches of rain? Where does that water come from? It has to come from somewhere. There aren't that many lakes around there where the evaporation in the water cycle can pull that water in the air. But there is one huge source of water right next to it. And if you remember, there was, let me see if I can get back to that map. Nope, not there. There. So if you see these areas, these coastal areas here, where they get all that rain, let me see if I can find the next coastal area. Oh, that's that one. I'll have to find the map. Anyway, it showed the west coast of the United States, right where my cursor is here. We have the states of Washington, Oregon, California. And right next to it, you have the world's largest ocean, the Pacific Ocean. So that water is pulled up and evaporated, put into the clouds. But why doesn't the salt go with it? I've always, wanted someone to explain that to me. And when I did have someone explain it to me, it was a little experiment that was done where we had salt water, mixed salt with water. Actually, I did it myself. But when I watched the water evaporate, Guess what was left behind in the cup when it was all done? You guessed it, all that salt. So the salt can't go in the sky because the salt is too heavy. Otherwise you would be looking all over the place and there'd be little salt particles raising up in the sky and you'd be like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then you'd have to just kind of go hide and cry and do whatever you'd have to do. But we don't have that happen because the salt is too heavy, it stays behind. And so when that water creates the clouds and then dumps onto the west coast like that, it's fresh water. It comes down as fresh water without the salt. And the trees and the plants and all the vegetation in that biome end up soaking all that in.
Forests can be found in Asia, Africa, centimeters of rain annually. So as you can imagine, they are pretty wet. In fact, they experience almost constant rainfall. And the average temperature ranges from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius with little change. There are countless species of trees and vegetation, all of which grow very tall, very dense, and very green. Some animals that can be found in the tropical rainforest are snakes, frogs, and my favorite, monkeys. Like the tropical rainforests, temperate rainforests tend to be very wet, but their climate is a little cooler. Temperate rainforests receive up to 250 centimeters of rainfall annually. Did you know that each second, an area of the rainforest that's almost the size of a football field is destroyed? You can help save the rainforest every day by doing simple things like recycling. When you recycle aluminum cans, for instance, you help to decrease the need for mining in rainforests. We've talked a lot about different parts of the world that are homes to many different biomes, but you don't have to travel across the world to observe a biome or an ecosystem. That's because ecosystems are all around us. Whether you are trekking through the rainforest, swimming in the ocean, or sitting in your backyard, you can observe ecosystems every day. Simply take a look around to see how ecosystems affect your life and how you affect an ecosystem in the real world.
That was exciting. That was a great video. So what I'd like you to do is think about what the video is talking about with biomes and environments and the different places on the planet. I'd like you to go back and watch or look for 10 different types of facts that you could write down. And if you take those 10 facts and you want to turn them into trivia questions, say 2 or 3 of them, send those to me if you could. I'd like to get some trivia going with the group and be able to ask people the next time we get together some trivia questions from this video that could help us even deepen our understanding about what they were talking about. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. The next time we get together, we're going to start with your trivia questions, and then we're going to talk even more about biomes, different biomes, and talk specifically about the state of Minnesota. And then again, 2 lessons from now, we're going to start to create different biomes and do some experiments with those biomes. All right? So go back in a notebook, go back and find 10 facts. And out of those 10 facts, if you want to send me a couple of your questions or send your teacher a couple of questions and they'll get those to me, that'd be great. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. For now, that's Mr. G signing out.
That was easy.
Have a good one.